Do that on purpose?
Okay.
Good evening, friends.
Hey, hi,
You don't
Maurice.
want- They can't see you. You want me to make you?
No, I don't want to see me.
Ah,
Merrill, you're muted as well.
Hi, everyone.
There you are.
there we go.
Oh,
Hi, Meryl.
Hi, Debbie.
Can you hear me?
I can.
All right. Good. We're eventually getting people on.
Hi.
That's good.
Lauren Pesman is here, but I haven't figured out how to do my audio video yet. I've had this problem before.
It's working.
You're seeing it at your end?
We're hearing you.
There we are.
No, but is there a picture?
Is it lost? Oh, yeah. No emergency.
Toby, you're muted. Are you doing that on purpose?
What's that?
Yep, until the action really gets going.
Okay. That's good.
Jim, you're muted.
Right, I don't see it. Can you tell me?
All right. Okay, so we got 25 so far. That's good. Keep it coming. Sorry, but again, I apologize for having a technical difficulty in the beginning there, but Zoom wasn't acting right for me. So
Yeah, it told
Listen,
me
we
when
appreciate what you do.
Absolutely.
well,
the
thank you
first
for
time
that. So I am, just to let folks know, I am recording this meeting. So those who, like myself, have difficulties can hear the recording back and so on. But so let's start. Since we have 26 of us so far, and again, another apology. I didn't realize this was the first night of Hanukkah. And some people have pointed that out to me. I celebrate Festivus, because it's for the rest of us. So let's do it that way. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, and everybody's in good health. And I have, just to let you know, I've also put up more photographs of the Vermont reunion up on the web page. Is there anybody who doesn't know about the Windsor Mountain School webpage? I'm just curious. Okay, everybody knows. That's good. So why don't we start with people saying hello and what's new in the past year very quickly, and just kind of go through the group, and then we'll open to a discussion. I had a theme. If you don't like the theme, that's fine. We'll do another one because it's Windsor. So we'll start with Jay Corman, and there you go.
Hi, Jay Corman, 66 to 68.
Got it.
Lived in the garage for those 2 years. From the second year of it, Maurice was my dorm father.
We'll just
This past year has been interesting. My office got moved.
Look in the camera.
So the office
Yeah,
got
someone
moved.
is
choice
not.
of- Hello.
I'm sorry. Someone is not muted. Make sure you're all muted.
Through no choice of my own. I occasionally do go into my office. I don't see patients there yet. Other than that, let's see, what else is new? I've lost 40 pounds since May, intentionally.
Congratulations.
Thank you. My cardiologist decided that 200 pounds was not okay at my height. And so we've put me on a medical program of weight loss. And I'm pretty happy with it, although no carbs after 6 p.m. means that I really, no cookies, no, the snacks, just anyway, but but I'm not huffing and puffing when I'm walking up hills anymore. So that's a good thing.
That's good.
Other than that, life goes on.
All right.
And on to the next person.
All right, Lauren.
Hi, I don't know if anyone can see me. I can't see me. I do Zoom once or twice a year, and I only get it half right at best most of the time. Anyway, I've been retired for a few years, left government service just after Trump came in, partly because of that, and also I was just the fit between me and where I worked was getting less good. And I was ready to be at home, managed to be at home for the last couple of years of my older daughter's high school life. In the last year, people keep coming and going. We thought we would have, 2 girls in college at the moment. Right now, we have one at home who hopes to go back in February, and one who's at college but is taking the next semester off. So it's kind of fun having them around, but there's another surprise every day. My wife is, she's a speech therapist, works with kids, works hard, was at home for a while. Now she's mostly working from the office. And here I am. I spend a lot of time on the internet, spend a lot of time following political news and lately, pandemic news. I think that's enough.
Okay. We'll go to John Samuels. Thank you. John?
Okay, I'm unmuted.
right.
That works better. Yeah, I predate most of you, almost all of you. Matter of fact, Maurice was a classmate of mine. And that was, I graduated in 1957 after being there for 3.5 years. And it was great for me. I wasn't doing well at my previous schools, and getting out of that environment, away from my parents, perhaps, whatever, straightened me out. And I did very well by the end of 3.5 years there. Went off to college, didn't finish, however. Went to the Army, worked for IBM for 33.5 years. Been retired from them since 1994. And moved down to Florida 16 years ago with my wife. She passed away, however, shortly thereafter. And so I lived in West Palm Beach for 15 years, and I'm now up in Vero Beach, Florida. And it's a little quieter, which I like, and a little less expensive, and doing just fine. I try to follow the Windsor Mountain group. I don't always get a chance to chime in, but always interested in it, and sorry that it doesn't exist as a school anymore. So that's about it. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go to Katie Gray. How you doing? You still up on the skyline?
Hi there. Katie Gray. I was at Windsor from 69 to 72. And once I got to the Berkshires, I never left. I just stayed because it was the best place to live, and raised a family and had a couple of 3 or 4 or 5 careers. And this year's been a little rough. I was sort of forced into retiring. I had a therapeutic horsemanship program doing equine therapy with all kinds of folks. And because of the pandemic and because of some logistical problems with the horses, I had to retire in August. And so pretty much sucks. I still have my critters, and I'm boarding them, and I visit them every day. And I have 2 grandchildren with another one on the way. So that's the good news. Thanks.
Great, great. Stephen Vetro, go.
Wow. I'm waving also at Bill Brunel, my roommate in my sophomore year. And hey, Bill. And actually, I had trouble logging in, and my wife, Beverly Gordon, who also went to Windsor, and we're still together after 50 years. We met in 1964 at Windsor. Went different ways, but reconnected after college, and been together ever since. So, for me, I was at Windsor on a full scholarship for sort of set aside for kids whose parents were political leftists, troublemakers, yeah, just go on. So, and I'm talking, so you can wave.
Hey.
So she'll we have her own chance. And so in many ways, it was really a lift out of New York and a special, really a special opportunity for me. And I don't know if we're on to how things changed your life. We can get that later. But anyhow, I was there for a full 4 years, and sort of at the end was very, very involved. Whenever somebody came up to visit the school, Heinz would send me to take them around, and was really an advocate for the place. And after I left, I had a summer job working at a television station in New York that they were in the process of getting rid of all their studio equipment, the lighting and all that stuff, which I made sure to send up to Windsor for the theater. And so, that was a pretty positive experience. And then I made the mistake of coming back and saw how the sausage was made for a year. And, it was a very rough time, of course, for the school. It was sort of near the end of its life, and the student population was really different. And I was not as mature as I could have been. And so it was a very hard year there. And it's pretty wounded at the end of it, and did have the good fortune after a decade of having a healing set of letters back and forth with Heinz that sort of took care of some of the pain that I had left. So I had gone from really high up on the pyramid to really crashing down at the bottom. But I see Jim Freeman and some of the people who were my students at that point, and I know that was really a special year for them too. Okay. So anyhow, I'll come back if other questions. I'm going to take the blurring off, and Bev can join me.
Oh, good.
But you can pass it around when she's ready to talk.
All right. We'll since you bring up Jim, let's go to Jim Freeman. Go ahead. You'll have to unmute. There you go.
There we go. There we are. Okay. Let's see. I graduated from Windsor in 1972, went on to Syracuse University. I was the first person there to major in theater and minor in systems and information science. Acted professionally from 1975 to 1981. Then I spent 30 years in the financial industry doing computer work and had a lovely time. They sent me all around the world. I got to make things for people, which was a great pleasure for me, always a hands-on craftsman. Also in 1975, 76, I met my wife, Erica. We are still married after 45 years. Sadly, she has Alzheimer's disease now and lives at a memory care center in New Rochelle, New York. And I see her once a week. For those who knew me at the theater at Windsor, I am back at it. After I retired from Credit Suisse in 2012, I floundered around for a while, spent some time at the Red Cross, and I now have a fairly lively practice building things for theater people, especially puppeteers. We have a big maker space in Brooklyn, and I spend a lot of time constructing things, and my name is getting around, and we have a lot of large productions coming up. I also back to acting. I spent some time at Theater at St. John's and the Regeneration Theater Company, and I take acting classes on Sundays. So I keep pretty busy.
Okay, good. Let's go over to Toby.
Yes, hi there. Hi, everyone. This is only my 943rd Zoom in the last year. I just retired as a professor, dean, and department chair at Boston University. I was there for 30 years. loved it almost as much as I loved Windsor Mountain School, which really I think was a great experience. So now that I'm retired, I wanted to travel, but it looks like that's going to be put on hold. Although in the summer I teach for BU at our London program, and I've done that for 20 years. So I hope to be able to get back there. I don't know where all of you live. I live in a small town called Mattapoisett, Massachusetts. It's down on the South Coast. While I was a professor, I was also a political media consultant. And so I've probably lost campaigns in every state that all of you live in during my time doing that. It's great to see everybody.
That's great. Hey, by the way, can you help Betsy get us back to the Lenox campus for reunion?
Oh, that's an ugly story. I worked with Bill Dobbs years ago for that one, and I deal somewhat with the BU people, and I've tried to sort of do what I can, but they're a unique bunch, and that's sort of the way it goes. But yeah, I could certainly give that a shot for the future.
That'd be great. Bob Kent, you're up next.
Hi, everybody. Graduated Windsor in '62, so this is coming up to my 60th reunion. And hopefully we have something there. I was there 2 years, 11th and 12th grade. Just word of note, one of my close friends in my class was Parney Hall, the son of Franny and Jim Hall, who probably most of you had. And unfortunately, Parney passed away this last year. After graduating Windsor, and I think Windsor, I know for me, helped me transition into college, made it much smoother than a lot of my friends, because I think going to Windsor was like going away to college. I lived in Los Angeles, so I came all the way across country. I went to the Claremont colleges, undergrad, then I got an MBA from Berkeley, law degree from UCLA. I've practiced law most of my life with a few diversions. I was a sports agent in the 70s. I was in the art business for almost 20 years with my ex-wife, Melanie Taylor Kent. Maybe some of you have heard of her. I'm now married to Ellen Kent, and I'm now living in Chicago because she made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Ellen came to the 2018 reunion with me, and I think everybody thought she was the Windsor graduate, not me. She fit right in, and I know she's kept in touch with a number of people. I've stayed in touch with a number of friends from Windsor, for almost 60 years now. Some of you may know Liz Smolin, Shirley Finney, now Musselwhite, Renata Roderman, now Carol's, whose mother Bess was a teacher, taught German and other things at the school, and Joni Campanella. But I was very, very grateful for my years at Windsor, the friendships I made, and learning to be on my own, and probably gave me some political. I was leaning left, but after Windsor and going to Berkeley, it was more far left, I guess. But I think it's amazing that we have an active website and link. I know Dan Keegan, who I think I saw here, is running that, and I think it's a noteworthy memorialization of our school that everybody is here after 50 and 60 years participating in this and is active on the internet and things. I think that Windsor is very, very special, and I'm glad to see you all. Happy holidays, Happy New Year, stay healthy.
Same to you. Dan, Dr. Dan, I know you're, I'm going to unmute you. Can you unmute yourself rather? Because I know you got to get up early. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Oh, Dan? No, no, okay.
Came to Windsor in 57, graduated 61.
All right.
Went to school for a while, ended up going to law school, still doing some intellectual property things. And every once in a while, mourn a bit that Windsor, as many institutions, had a limited life.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's go to Meryl. You're on mute. There you go. Before you start, I want to thank you for helping on the plaque there. That was a wonderful thing to do.
Well, I'm Meryl Pinson and I live in Athens, Georgia, and I'm a retired person, which I really like. Been retired about 5 years. I went to Windsor Mountain in 64 to 66, and sadly, many of the issues that we were facing then, we continue to face now. But Windsor was a very special place, and I'm happy to see faces and names that I remember. And I probably don't keep in touch as much as I probably should with people, but I'm happy to see everyone.
Great, good. Let's see. Maurice, let's go with you.
Hello there, everyone. I'm glad to see you all and glad to be here, and was glad to actually go to Windsor, Vermont for that reunion, which was a very pleasant experience. So news, effect of Windsor on my life. Windsor probably changed my life or strengthened the direction I was meant to travel in a variety of ways. 1954, when I arrived at the Windsor Mountain School, was the same year as the Brown v. Board of Education decision to desegregate American schools. And here I landed in this unusual progressive private school in Lenox, Massachusetts, which was integrated in a variety of ways. And for private boarding schools in those days, in addition to being coeducational, was representative of the range of us all in our human race, if we look at the world a little bit better that way, and had a major effect on my life in terms of even bringing me into more active political and other social justice behaviors from that point forward in my life. And I remember and tell the story sometimes of the experience I had in Lenox when they told me they don't cut my kind of hair at the barbershop there, and having the first active response when Heinz said to the school and brought us all together, we're not going to use that place anymore. And we'll see what lesson they learn. And that was my first engagement in that kind of activity, which I've continued in one way and another the rest of my life. And as some of you know, I returned to Windsor to teach and became assistant headmaster, and it was some of which was painful when we were going through the end of the school's life and that recession that hit us pretty hard back then. But it was a major force in my life, and led to my going to Swarthmore College, which is where Heinz and Eleanor had attended school, and Heinz had been pushing very hard on Swarthmore to become a more integrated culturally and ethnically and so on place. I used to tease him later in life when I was his colleague that I was part of his experiment in changing Swarthmore. But Swarthmore, believe it or not, a thing I wouldn't have imagined. I went back to work there and did for almost 30 years in the administration of the college, which has changed wonderfully as a diverse and progressive, although it was progressive in a number of ways back in my student days. But it was, I expected it to be more like Windsor than it was when I got there, just to put it frankly out there. But ultimately, I did go back, and as I said, enjoyed for all those years that I was there, working in administration, but also after the first year when I said, look, I don't have enough to do, and especially want students in my life. And so then I became an advisor to members of incoming classes as time went on, and had a very full and enjoyable career there. I'm retired and have been for 5 years now, I guess, and I define it as being off the payroll more than I do to being less busy. And my life on Zoom has been pretty extensive as well, with board meetings of one sort and another. I helped a young faculty member back in my early days, in his early days up at college, create a chorus in nearby Chester, Pennsylvania, which is a pretty poor, predominantly African-American community. And out of the success of that chorus, I helped some other local supportive people start a school in Chester, which has a arts integrated curriculum K through 12. And this year we're graduating our 4th class since we grew that school year by year. It's a charter school and has done very well by its students. And I'm very pleased to have that as a part of my life as well. So I'm a grandfather of 5, and my oldest grandson went to Morehouse College and graduated from University of Iowa and is a jazz musician, having said to my wife, Joan, when we were in a restaurant when he was 4 years old, he pointing to the piano player, he said, "Lita, I want to do that." And we got him his first piano teacher, and my son and his wife thought we were crazy, but there it was. And he's now gotten his master's degree in jazz at University of Iowa and is living in Arizona, and just got back into playing, played a gig there and is very excited about it now. He's been transcribing music for other musicians rather than putting himself out there in exposure to the pandemic, but he's still playing. And so I'm very proud of him and all of my grandchildren. And I love the Windsor family's presence on Facebook and the opportunity to continue to be engaged in one level and one way and another with that part of my life. We have been a pretty powerful family and community, even since Windsor closed. So glad to see you all.
And thanks, Maurice, for all that you do. And you're our rock for this community. So thank you.
That means I have a hard head, right?
Well, you're our anchor. Yeah, let's put it that way. Let's go to Elizabeth Hicks.
Hi, I'm Liz Crockett Hicks, and I was in the class of 54.
Wow.
I don't recognize anybody here unless it's some of the women in their, their married name is here. But most of what I remember were the teachers. I learned so much. I learned so much there. Duck was my English teacher. Mate was my German teacher. I had Mate for 3 years. And I remember in the 3rd year, when we came to class, we could talk to each other as long as, ja, ist das Deutsch? And if we were speaking German, she didn't mind us talking. When I graduated and went to University of Michigan, I continued to write to her. And when she wrote me back, if it was a thin letter, then I knew that my letter got through all right without a whole lot of mistakes. Otherwise, she would send my letter back with, with the corrections. Of course, I remember Gertrude. Leon was my geometry teacher, which I couldn't stand, not him, but the geometry. And also my trig teacher. Felix Wasserman was my chemistry teacher, and I remember more than anything. He held us to high standards. I'll tell you right quick, I had to leave right after Thanksgiving because I had infectious mononucleosis. And so I was gone until after Christmas. But when I came back, shortly after that, it was time for the midterms. Of course, I had missed some stuff. And when we did our finals, we did them in the lab and we did them individually. And he showed me this picture and he said, "What is this?" And I said, "It's an eye." He said, tell me about the eye. And so I told him about the eye. And he said, where are the fins on the eye? I didn't see any fins. It wasn't an eye, it was a fish. But I had missed that unit, so I didn't know. Okay, I also remember Peter. I cannot remember what Peter taught, but he did come out here to California and we had lunch together. And I don't remember the art teacher. The only person here that I think I know is Maurice, but I know him only through my brother and sister, who both George Crockett and Ethelene Crockett Jones, who also went. And I had the same problem he did. My mother went back in the kitchen to find out if there was somebody that could do my hair because it wasn't going to be able to be done there. And I forget what the cook's name was, but she did find someplace for me to be able to go into Pittsfield and get my hair done on a regular basis. I absolutely loved my experience at Windsor, and the friends that I made, most of them, many of them that I kept up with are gone now, but it was just a wonderful experience I will never forget. Thank you.
Was Peter Klopfer?
That's her, Peter Klopfer, that's him. Yeah. What did
Still
he
around.
teach? What did he teach?
I'm guessing it was in the sciences. I'm remembering. I knew him outside of the classroom. He was the first Quaker I met, and one of the fiercest Quakers I've ever met in my life since then, as I am a Quaker now. And so, but he was a very wonderful member of that community and another leader in the doing good works in the justice range.
I think I'm probably among the oldest of you here because I was in the class of 54. I'm 85 now. I'm finished.
No, you're doing
You're
well. You're doing well. Bill Brunel, let's go to you next. Bill?
Yep. I just had to unmute it. So, oh boy. Well, I graduated in '66. I had deliberately flunked a year of high school in Winsted, Connecticut, which is about 40 miles from Lenox, and was determined actually to quit school. And I looked, when I was 15, I looked 18 or 19. I looked older, and I was doing magic shows, and I was studying in New York with a magician, a world famous magician, Slidini, who became like a second father to me. And I was going to quit school and move to New York and sell trick decks of cards at the 42nd Street subway stop. And my parents were frightened because they knew I had gone into magic stores and gone behind the counter and sold the decks, and they were afraid I was actually going to do it. And in many respects, I regretted not doing it. But when I had the interview with Heinz, first it was with Heinz and Gertrude and my father in Gertrude's living room. And I said, I didn't say anything. They were talking, and after about 2 minutes, Gertrude said, yeah, I think it's better that you talk to the son alone and I will talk to the father. And I went into Gertrude's bedroom with Heinz, and I said, I don't want to come here. And he says, well, we were not going to take you if you don't want to come here, but you've come all this way. Do you want to take a look around? And I was relieved to see the diversity and the artistic nature in the appearance of so many of the students. And I came back and he said, what do you think? And I said, I don't know. And he said, why don't you think it over for a week or two and write me a letter and let me know what you've decided to do. And if you decide that you want to come here, I'll send your parents a letter of acceptance. If you don't want to come, then I will send them a letter saying we had to reject you because of your poor academic performance. So,
oh, that's good.
It was my introduction to how winning Heinz could be when when he wanted to be.
Nice.
Anyway, so at Windsor, I did magic and I did all kinds of things. I became very close to Harry Rubenstein, and was in touch with Harry until the year that he died. I saw him in his bed. I'll tell you a great Harry story. That'll tell you a little bit about me while I do that, and you'll enjoy a Harry story. The last time I saw Harry he was in bed and he was 98, I think. And this is in 2008. And in Southbury, Connecticut. And he had broken both hips. They couldn't do surgery. He was essentially in bed, unable to move. His hearing and his sight were both going. Up to that point, he and Reggie had passed a number of years before that, but he listened to a lot of books on tape. And I said, Harry, what are you're isolated. And then he was totally present. This is 2 or 3 weeks before he died. And I said, what are you doing in here? What do you, can you listen to the tapes? He says, no, the hearing's not good enough for that. And he couldn't watch television. He couldn't move at all. He was just in this locked position, more or less flat. And I said, what do you do? How do you spend your days? You're so conscious and you're awake. And he said, I was always a very good sight reader, but I'm not, my ear wasn't so good. He said, so I've been doing ear training exercises. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, I've been practicing going thirds and fifths and flats and sharps. And, he described this elaborate procedure that he designed for himself to keep his mind alert, because he was still very determined to keep going despite the bad shape he was in. It was very inspiring, actually. I mean, very sad and inspiring at the same time. So I'll just sum up. I've done a lot of things over the years. I had all kinds of things happen a few years after Windsor. I wound up going to one college where they were going to make me the first freshman ever elected president of the student body. And then they, including backing of the administration, until they looked and said, wait a minute, this boy's flunking. We've got to kick him out. And because this was Beloit College in Wisconsin. And so then I wound up at Goddard. Basically, the only reason I stayed in school was to get out of the draft. But at Goddard, I did a lot of independent studies. I started a school newspaper there. I also learned transcendental meditation when I was in New York, and then went to India for a semester's credit to train with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and became a teacher of TM, which I'm still very active in. I'm in fact living in a TM men's retreat in West Virginia. I'm not crazy about, but the retreat is great. And I lead a lot of the courses here for people coming in from outside. And I also have done a lot of work with Robert Fritz. Some of you might have heard of him. He wrote a best-selling book called The Path of Least Resistance, which is about the creative process. And I work closely with Robert doing some coaching of students that are going through his online Creating Your Life course. And that's how I'm staying active. I'm doing the long meditation program here, doing some teaching here, and staying in touch with my magic friends. And Windsor made me very clear that that I love teachers. I got the first year I was there, when I wasn't keeping Steve awake in our room in the West Dorm, I was down in King Wheelock's room till midnight talking. And I got close to Harry. Anyway, teachers are really important to me, and the process of teaching has been embedded in anything that I did, whether it was even when I was performing, when I was teaching magic or whatever. Okay. Sorry to be so long-winded.
Hey, it's all right. Hey, Roberta Jordan, how are you doing? Why don't we go with you?
Good, I'm doing really well. Well, I went to Windsor the last 4 years. In graduated in 75, and 2 of my brothers also went to Windsor, so all 3 of us were there in the last 7 years. I took care of Gertrude during those last couple of years. Hi, Nancy.
Yeah.
And I have a daughter. I'm married. I live in Asheville, North Carolina. I went to UMass for my undergrad and to University of San Francisco for my master's in a program that was like an MBA, but geared towards the field of rehabilitation. And over the last 40 years, I've built from the ground up two businesses. The one I currently own have about 42 employees. 20 of those are massage therapists, and this is a Japanese outdoor hot tub retreat in Asheville. And I don't know, that's just about the sum.
That's
sum
good.
of the
That's
story.
good. Yeah, let's go to Bob Howard next.
Well, hello, everybody. Bob Howard. I was at Windsor from 55 to 61, 7th grade through 12th grade. And I said it all a year ago today, I guess. Anyway, things are going okay. Medical science has somehow managed to keep me alive another year. And I'm doing okay. I'm in the ministry. I'm a Baptist minister. I teach Bible at a place called Northwest Bible Training Center. I live in Portland, Oregon. And I rise here with my wife and of 55 years. And I'm doing okay. I've been sick now for 4.5 years, but I'm going strong, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
All right, good. Let's go to Joy next. You there, Joy? Oh, you need to unmute. You want me to do it? There you go.
Yes,
There we
I
go.
am here and I am overwhelmed. I am absolutely overwhelmed. So many of you I know. And who was it? Ethelene Crockett. I knew Ethelene quite well. Bob Kent, Shirley Finney Musselwhite is my sister. Maurice, your sister, has been among my best friends since we graduated from Windsor in 1960. And we remain in
Germany right now.
Yes, I know.
So-
And I think she's pretty happy about that.
Oh, very much so, with her son, his wife, and their lovely daughter. So she's having a great time.
Right. Julia, we did many things together. And let me see, Bob Kent, you graduated in 62. You were in school with my sister.
I was. Shirley and I were the only 2 students in the Russian class for 2 years. She and I, shared a class together, and we've stayed in touch all the years. It's getting time for me to call her in the holidays, but
Definitely. I have a little book that I wrote in Russian with watercolor illustrations that I sent to her to encourage her with her Russian. And then she started writing me shorter and shorter letters, but they were in Russian. I was then at the University of Chicago. So I just would like to listen, I think, because there's so many people here that I love hearing from. Debbie Newmark, we connected here in Washington, D.C. at a reunion, correct? Let me see, who else on here?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So I've got I have something showing as Peter's iPhone. Peter, what's your last name so we know?
Peter Blitcher.
Okay.
Where's he? Oh,
That's me. Hat on.
hi, Peter.
Hi. I have an unusual situation in going to Windsor. My brother, BJ, it was BJ Blitcher, went to Windsor Mountain. He was sent there because my parents couldn't deal with him. Went to a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist told them that he needed to go to Windsor Mountain, where he would have group therapy and, if necessary, individual therapy. I went to visit with my parents on a parents' day, and then told my parents that they needed to send me there. I grew up in a very kind of a bubble. I grew up in Palm Beach, Florida, where there was tremendous prejudices. My family was Jewish, and there was only a few Jews in the whole town. I couldn't go to the parties that my friends had because of my religion. I couldn't go to the clubs. Blacks were not allowed in Palm Beach. At night, they were checked at the bridge and they had to show ID that they were working. So I didn't know diversity. I didn't know anything. I was the youngest of three and was very protected by my mother. I insisted to go to Windsor Mountain. My parents did not want me to go. It changed my whole life because I learned all about diversity that I didn't know. I wouldn't have known for years. In turn, I look at it and I look back at Windsor and I tell people stories about Windsor. I went from 61, I believe, to 65. And I tell people stories because that was that was when Kennedy was killed. And I went to school with Joe Jacobson, Dr. Jacobson, the Jacobson drops. Was friends with the Belafontes, with the Campanellas. Would spend a lot of time going to New York in the Campanella's house. And my family didn't really understand this, but it changed my entire life. When I got out of Windsor, I wasn't the greatest student, and I went to college for about 10 years. I had to go in the Army reserves because I was going to be drafted and sent to Vietnam. And when I eventually got out of college, I married someone. I've been married now for 50 years. I went back to Florida and worked for a developer and then lived in Miami for 16 years. And then I decided to start my own business in New Jersey and was a real estate developer for many years. 15 years ago, I retired, been married for 50 years. So 15 years ago, I retired and I live in Naples, Florida now. Have two daughters, have 4 grandchildren. Wished I would have been at the Windsor reunion, and that my daughter lives in the next town and she's an endodontist. She lives in White River Junction. And so hopefully if we have the reunion back up there or further north with the campuses, I'll try to go.
Okay, that's great. So Julia Lawford, you have a lot of family, so I'm glad you're at least on. Let's talk to you.
Hi, everybody. I have the great pleasure of just returning from having Thanksgiving with two other Windsor graduates, my brother Llewellyn and my baby brother Peter, who is now 68. He and his wife just moved from Arizona to Charlottesville, Virginia. And though their furniture arrived 4 weeks ago, they wanted everybody to gather with them. So we all joined in, including our son, Chris, and his partner and their wonderful dog. I also have the great pleasure of seeing Maurice every few weeks or month. I started working at Swarthmore College in the administration in 1976 and stayed for 37 years. So I was there to welcome Maurice back when he came to join the administration at Swarthmore. And he might have mentioned that the school that he founded in Chester now has about 700 students. So it's a really going concern. And it and the Chester Children's Chorus, I recommend you all look up that and see what a wonderful program it is. The website is chesterchildrenschorus.org, and you can find it independently or through the Swarthmore page. I'm overjoyed at this point to be back to singing for real, that is together with the Swarthmore College Chorus, of which I'm a member now for 45 years. And I retired from Swarthmore in 2013 and have been a singer all my life. It's wonderful to see Joy here on the screen, and also to be in touch off screen with Susie Klein, who graduated in 61, and with Janice Eldridge Williams, with whom I roomed for at least one of those years. Windsor certainly changed the life of all of the Lafford kids. When I was in high school, in a high school in Geneva, New York, where the only kids who had any status were the cheerleaders and the jocks. And my parents set about finding a place where it was okay to be an artist, a musician, and a somewhat smart kid. And we really resonated with Windsor as we looked at places like Northfield and Emma Willard, and which are at two ends of a spectrum even then. And so I got to Windsor, and what did I do? I helped establish a cheerleading team with Susie Klein. And then I went back to Geneva and I wore my letter sweater, and at the soda bar, somebody said, where's that from? Waterloo? Well, Windsor was wonderful in expanding horizons. My mother had been born in Germany and had left at the age of 18 to work in Shanghai, China, and met my dad out there. No thought of going back to Germany to marry in 1939, and they came to the States. So you can see how my family resonated with Gertrude and Heinz and the whole Windsor approach to life. And I am eternally grateful for that. So nice to be still in touch with people. Let's keep it going.
Yes, let's do
Happy
that.
holidays to all.
You too. Jeffrey, you were coming on. Can you join us?
I've just, Julia, Susie Klein, where is she?
She's in Florida. She's in Florida, and she's active on the Facebook page. By the way, I also remember, was that Joy who was speaking, or Elizabeth Hicks?
No, Debbie Newmark. I knew Susie Klein.
Oh, there.
I knew Susie Klein and Joey Frank and Louis Frank and that whole group.
Right.
So I didn't know Susie was alive and well. I'd love to get her address.
She is flourishing, and one of her daughters became elected to the Supreme Court of Wisconsin now 3 or 4 years ago, I guess 2018, as one of the first Democrats in many years. Debbie, if you see my name on the screen, my email.
I'm not really good with this stuff, but I do see your name.
Okay, well, my email is julia.welbon@gmail. And if you write me your email, I will tell you how to get in touch with Susie.
Is there a way we can get everybody's email address?
If you want to send email to info, at alum@windsormountain.com, windsormountainschool.com. I am putting together a master email list.
Thank you.
Okay. So there's somebody called call-in user number 1. Can we hear from you and who you are? Hello? No? All right. Let's go with.
Can I
Sure.
say hello?
Sure, Claire.
Okay. Okay, my name is Claire Jepson, born Kramer. I remember Maurice. I came to Windsor 66, 67 from Germany. I grew up in Hamburg, and Heinz's uncle, Kurt Bundy, was a very family friend, and we had Sunday dinner every day, every week together. And that's how I got to know the Windsor family. And when I was finished with high school after 10th grade in Germany, I was kind of fed up with German school. So my dad said, okay, you can go to the United States. And it became Windsor. So I came in March 66 and graduated in 67. And let's see, after Windsor, I went to Denver, Colorado, which is where my mom's family, my grandparents lived, and aunts and cousins, and went to University of Denver. There I met a Norwegian, and after a while we got together, and we got married in 72 and lived 4 or 5 years in Denver. Our oldest daughter is born in Denver. And then we moved to Norway, which is where his family comes from, in Kristiansand, which is on the southern coast, about 4 hours south of Oslo, which is the capital of Norway. And I've been living here for 45 years now. And I have 2 daughters, 4 grandchildren, worked in the hotel business for about 35 years. And I'm doing fine. I have a twin brother who lives in New York, whom I'm hoping to see in February when I come to the States.
All right.
And as a matter of fact, he has a place now up in Lee, Massachusetts, so right next door to where we was. So he's been taking pictures of the old building and sending to me whenever he's been there. So it's been kind of fun. But it's been very nice to connect with the Windsor group through this Facebook. And I've seen a few names. Toby I've been in touch with, and it's nice to have this connection after all these years. Thank you.
It's good to
And
hear
it's
from you.
2 o'clock in the morning here in Norway.
Wow.
So I got
There-
up for you guys.
Is there anybody else that is up late or needs to call in, or because of a time factor? I know Dan was one of those people, but anyway, well, okay, let's go to Daniel Keegan. Go ahead, Dan. Did we talk to you already?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Let's go to Ellen Cravat.
Ellen Prevett, yes, hi,
Yes,
how are you?
hello. Good.
I think I graduated in 60 or 61,
Okay.
something like, and you know, when you sent out that question, Windsor was everything to me. It changed my life. And my house father was Duck Daly, and I got my values out of Windsor. It just set me on a wonderful path. And I just owe so much to that experience. So I was there for 2 years, I think. I just, you know, so that it gave me my sense of values. You know, it gave me my beginning on a path which I'm still learning about inclusivity and diversity, but it certainly set me on a path of having a greater comprehension than I would have had. And so what happened, I became what you call an employee assistance professional. I'm a social worker by degree. And now I worked for the airlines for many, many years, and mostly doing trauma work and substance abuse work. And now I work for Amtrak, which is a railroad, and doing the same kind of thing. So I'm in Costa Rica right this moment.
Wow.
I have a house down here in Costa Rica, and it's just really beautiful here. And so I come down, you know, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, just to see what's going on. And I live in the Poconos now. I'm a New Yorker, but I live in the Poconos, and I work in Philadelphia. So that's the story of my life in a nutshell, but it's really good, and it would not have been so good if I hadn't been at Windsor.
I agree with you. Okay, let's go to Mitch Hart. Mitch, you there?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're good?
We're good.
Okay. Well, I went to Windsor when I was 13. And it saved me from, there was a choice going on in the courts, the juvenile courts, that either I go to juvenile hall or I go to Windsor. So that wasn't much of a choice.
Right.
But anyway, so there was a class of 8 of us in 1967. And I'm in touch with pretty much everybody that I started Windsor with. And we're still friends through 50 some years. So
that's good. Good. All right. You want to add anything else?
Can I cut in on Mitch's little talk?
Sure.
Okay. Just last night, I played the Zoom from last year, and Mitch was talking about having had a liver transplant at Duke. Well, then it was 5 years prior. So Mitch and I reconnected because I had an obscure women's autoimmune disorder that was going to kill me if I didn't get a transplant eventually. But you have to get really sick to get on the list to get a liver. And long story short, Mitch and I reconnected, and he was there for me while I went through the exact same thing that he went through. And so I'm just really supportive and grateful for everything he did for me. And I know he still struggles. And actually, I'm actually doing incredibly well. But
good
it's
to hear.
still very emotional, you know, to go through something like that. But anyway, hi, Mitch.
Hi, Bobby. We went through it together, huh?
We did. And you're
We're
really,
both still here to tell about it.
yep.
That's
Yeah,
good.
it's a second life. It's a second chance at life for both of us.
So happy it worked out that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Sorry.
That's
Sorry to get
okay.
heavy.
Jeffrey Bauman, are you on? Jeffrey? Oh, you have to unmute. No?
Okay, is this better?
That's better.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick tie together. How many people, raise your hand, remember the word emotionals? How we were allowed at Windsor to have emotionals,
Wow.
like we just heard. How wonderful the Spirit lives on so well and so deep in our hearts.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that emotional, guys.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Okay, flashing back to the 6th grade, Susan Klein lived 3 stories above in the next building where we were living, our family, and for about 6 months while we were looking for a house. And I strung a wire between us, her side and our side of the building, and had our own private walkie-talkies. And then when we came to Windsor, we both attended. So this is years later, after the 6th grade. I was at Windsor 57 to 59, and we both attended confirmation classes together. And we're the only 2 yids that were going into Pittsfield once a week. And then we came back to Cleveland, Ohio, where we're from, and attended and graduated from Abba Silver's temple. He was the rabbi that was on and welcomed, of all people, Ronald Reagan to the presidency. And just a little footnote about our lovely, and everybody knows, most of us know, Joy Finnessy Williams. And when I was chairman of the entertainment committee and I asked for people to volunteer for cleaning up, guess what? She never raised her hand. But guess what? She was always there to help clean up after the parties on Saturday night. And she was always so gracious that when Heinz gave us a room in the basement for all the props that we needed and leftover napkins and gloves and decorations and all kinds of things, she with a toothbrush cleaned the coal room floor so we could paint it with a gray paint, gunmetal paint that I got. And she was a continued joy afterward, and was lucky enough to get a job over there at that what's that, Joy, what's the name of that school you got a job at with Dr. Hoyt? Are you still on, Joy? Are you there, Joy?
I am still here. And what Jeffrey's referring to is that I spent most of my professional life at Georgetown University School of Medicine.
Oh, that school. I remember
that
now.
one. And retired in 2014 as Senior Associate Dean of Students and Special Programs.
Great. And I've been talking to Arthur ever since your introducing me to him. Thank you.
All right.
And just a quick interjection. Joy hosted at least 2
uh, reunions in Washington that were great. I mean, Susie
They
Klein
were.
actually came to one of them, and it was apparently it was a great way to draw people together in between the big Windsor
Mhm.
campus reunions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to turn this over to somebody I knew as Branch, but her name on the screen is Akila Manna. So Branch, go for it.
Hi, Windsorites. How are you? This
All right.
is really my legal name is Akila. However, I must have some identity thing going on or a past life. I just can't, cross wires. Legally Akila. My name used to be Donna, and at Windsor I became Branch. I do know why, but it was just one of those high school things. And so now I have another Boston nickname from summer camp. That's Muffy, like muffin. And so when people yell my name, I know where I know them from. That's one good thing. So if someone will yell Branch, I'll say, Windsor, and I'll look around for someone from Windsor. Or if someone says Muffy, I'll look for a face in the crowd that I knew as a 12-year-old, and Donna is just family friends. So yeah, and Akila is just for everybody. I'm legally Akila, born, not my kids born, married, graduated from, everything under Akila. So Manna is a married name. So anyway, Windsor, let's see. What happened? Is I was precocious in junior high, and a substitute teacher asked me where I was going for high school. I had no idea. I said probably the local, public high school. And I was sitting on his desk. It was after class. I was sitting on his desk, swinging my feet. Like I said, I was very precocious. And I guess he figured I didn't belong in a public school. I guess, because I says to him, "What's your name?" So he tells me, and I proceeded to call him by his first name. And so I just can see that I was so out of place in public school, but I didn't know it. And the same time, my father was dying of cancer, and so I proceeded to write. He told me about Windsor and said I probably would like it. Wrote a letter to Windsor, asked him, could I, come for an interview. I was thinking about coming there. By the way, we had very lower middle class money. My father worked, my mother worked. We, rented an apartment. We were not rich or even close to it. And my father had just retired from the military. He was a life guy. He'd been there 20 something years, 24, 25 years. And I was an Army brat. So I knew all nationalities as, identified with just people. I didn't, have preferences, just from traveling around the world and having friends from all nationalities because of the parents were all mixed and on base. So that's something, just a sidebar. And I got accepted to Windsor. A guy named Chris with curly hair. He was on the student council when I was there. He was a junior. I was a freshman, a sophomore when I came in. Don't remember Chris's last name, but he had sort of like dirty blonde, curly hair. And anyway, I came to Windsor. No, I got accepted to Windsor, and then I had to find the money. It was $3,500 that year. And I had to go about finding $3,500. And my mother asked me, where was I going to get the money? And I didn't seem to be worried. And as time was going on, I had the time from like June to September to find $3,500. And I was a little brainiac, and I was like pretty straight A, not straight A, but high level, A's, B's, stuff like that. I went to a summer enrichment program for little brainiacs, and then my chemistry teacher's father was a philanthropist. That goes along. Welcome to the party. My son just came in, and yeah, so her father was a philanthropist, and I told her one day, crying on my desk, just, I think it was melodramatic. I don't think it was legit. Might have been, because I couldn't imagine where I was getting the money. And she spoke to her father, and he sponsored me and said I had to make all, high to get the in order to get the I'm looking for something. Something seems to have gone on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure. We hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's my phone. That's all. Anyway, yeah. So what happened was, as I said, my father had cancer and was dying. And unfortunately, he died about 4 to 5 days before I was supposed to report to Windsor. We were supposed to arrive at Windsor that year on September 10th. And my father died September 6th in 1968. And I was like basically frozen. And I didn't tell anyone. I had my father's field jacket that I wore a bit for like a winterish jacket. I had his picture in the field jacket pocket, but I never told anyone why I was wearing a field jacket or why I had my dad's photograph and in a little frame. And didn't tell Hines, didn't tell the dorm parents. No one knew my dad had died. I thought my mother told him. She didn't. She was reeling as well. No one told, she didn't speak to Windsor about it. Bottom line is, I went to class when I could drag myself to class. So I went to the first classes, and met the teachers and, did things. And then as it got cold, I sort of like hibernated and stayed in my room. And no one knew why I had like basically no one, I don't know if anyone knew I vegged out. I don't think I told anyone. But Windsor was a great place to veg out. Can anybody identify? It's a great place to learn. It's a great place to socialize. It's a great place to find people that, kindred spirits. But it's also a good place where you can hide. They took attendance in breakfast, I think it was, and then in the evening at that time. This was in 68/69. That was the only year I attended Windsor. And the reason, bottom line, why I only attended that year is because I all but flunked out. I made borderline grades. I got C's, C's, low C's. And it wasn't because I probably couldn't do the work. It's probably because I wasn't mentally there. And I went to see Helen. Anybody remember Helen? Helen Howard?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good old Helen and her lock cigarettes. Yeah, yuck. So that's all I remember. Helen and her stinking, literally physically stinking cigarettes. God bless her. But I smoked a lot, back then. And that's how I met most of the people that I met at Windsor, by asking them for a cigarette. I bought some, I bought them as well, but that's how that was my intro to saying hello to people. You have a cigarette. And yeah, what we know today and what we knew then, hey? Right. So yeah.
Okay.
But then, so bottom line is that's what I did at Windsor, and I loved Windsor. It changed my whole perspective. I was very isolated until then. But
let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, thanks a lot. Love you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Let's go to Deborah Newmark. Deborah? You have to unmute.
Oh, good. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
I recognize a few names here. I was at Windsor from 64 to 66. And let's see, Merrill was, we lived in the East Dorm together. And Maurice, you were the house father. You were called the house father at that time. And
Young as I was.
I'm sorry?
I said, young as I was.
We must have lived in a bubble because I thought everything was so normal. You know, that we were all supposed to be together and so forth and so on, and frolic in the tulips. All I can say is I had a wonderful, meaningful experience going to Windsor, and I think it's something I've carried throughout my life. I'm a clinical social worker, and I'm still at it, and I love it. I love working with people, and I've had really a glorious career. I was one of the pioneers in the AIDS crisis, and God, when I was on the front lines at that time, I felt that I was sort of reincarnating. I felt like I would make Windsor very proud. Anyway, I'm married. My husband is a psychiatrist. We're both very passionate about mental health. And I live here in Washington, D.C. with Joel, my husband, and 2 Siamese cat boys. And I wish all of you just love. What can I say? I mean, you're like family to me just looking at you. So I grew up in Cleveland too. And it's just very special to see everyone. So.
Okay, that's good. Let's go to Peter McGovern right now. Peter? You on? Are you muted?
He was in my class, I think, wasn't he?
Okay.
I think
He may have gone out.
He had to sign off.
Okay,
Look
all
in the
right.
chat.
Let's go to Roy Trier. Roy? Roy? Hello? You'll have to unmute. Roy? All right. Mark Kearns, let's go to you.
Oh, just in time.
Hello. Glad to see so many people I went to school with here. A lot of familiar names. Let's see. The way I got to Windsor, I was flunking out almost of my sophomore year at Trenton High School in Trenton, New Jersey. And a friend of my parents had, I think, was trying to get a job teaching at Windsor. And he went up for an interview, and I don't know why he never wound up teaching there, but he came back with rave reviews. And so my parents sent me there. And it was definitely a life-changing experience. It just felt so much freer than Trenton, New Jersey did. I'm sure a lot of things probably feel freer than Trenton, New Jersey. But anyway, I very much enjoyed my time there. I don't know what to say. I know that after that in my senior year, Heinz wrote me a lovely recommendation letter to Carnegie Tech, which I went for chemistry because for some weird reason, I was inspired by Rex Reckendorf, who died that year, my senior year. And I eventually left Carnegie Tech in the middle of the semester, went hitchhiking around the country, eventually came back, eventually went to NYU, got a BA in English, became a court reporter for 20 years, you know, with the little machine. And then I was in a video store in 1983 and was talking to the guy behind the counter who had just published a magazine called Adult Video News. And I asked about it. There were free copies there. And he said, well, you know, we're always looking for reviewers. And I said, what does it pay? And he said, $15 and you get to keep the tape. And so I said, sold. So I was reviewing X-rated videotapes for a number of years. And then when the company moved to Los Angeles, I followed it, ditched court reporting and became the senior editor for legal affairs for Adult Video News. And while doing that, I went to a number of congressional hearings, a number of conventions like the Value Voters Summit, and reported on those. And I've also got a couple of chapters in an encyclopedia called the Encyclopedia of Human Sexuality. And right now I am working on a book which collects some of my articles. And the title of the book, tentatively at this point, is Preachers versus Porn, Exposing Christianity's War on XXX. That's what I got to tell you.
All right. Let's go back to Stephen Batro and Beverly. Are you still there? Can we hear from Beverly now?
Yes. Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
So I graduated in '65, and I don't even, it's not a time to give a whole biography, but I have always been artistic, and I was a professor of design at the University of Wisconsin for over 30 years, and I'm an artist and a writer. And I just wanted to mention, somebody said something about Rex Reckendorf, and I think a person who really affected my life very deeply was Edith Reckendorf, in her very quiet way. For people who weren't there at that time, she taught weaving. I don't know what else she taught. I can't remember if she even taught anything else, but that's what I had with her. And she'd been in the Dutch Resistance, and she was very gentle and aesthetically attuned. And I think about her all the time. So she was one person that affected me a great deal. And Stephen and I met there. We haven't been together the entire time since, but we have for almost 50 years. So it's been a long time. So
Great. Let's go to Michael Hammer.
You wanted to say more?
I was going to say something before you go to Michael.
Okay,
just as
all right.
As an update, you know, when I was at Windsor, you know, I was really into science, and I thought I was going to be a pre-med student, and it was such a bubble that when I got to Columbia, and you know, after one semester, it was very clear that everybody was so cutthroat and tearing up the books and making sure no one else could step. You know, it was so aggressive that I switched into history and did all the sort of left-wing political history stuff. And but I always spent my time at the school radio station at Columbia, and I worked. I paid my tuition by working at a television station in New York. And it was halfway through a master's in history that my professor, who was close to my age, said, you know, the only time you're really excited is when you talk about your days on the radio station. Shouldn't you be in media studies? And so that changed my life. And I worked for PBS and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting for a long, long time. And consulted around the country doing media and technology. And but Windsor also opened me to some of my artistic, poetic side, just being in the circle of so many wonderful teachers and creative people like Edith and Sushil Mukherjee and others and Harry, of course. So I would just say that right now, you know, a lot of my time, I'm a volunteer hospice person. I work in prison as a volunteer. You know, lots of spiritual practice and stuff like that. That roots that even though I wasn't doing those kinds of practices there, the idea of sort of Freiheit, you know, a utopian bubble in the world still stays with me about making the world a better place. And it's a little less political, more spiritual now, but the
That's
roots
great.
are really
That's
strong with
great.
some of those wonderful people there.
So
Thanks
let's,
for that.
I know we have a caller. Can you identify yourself on the phone? No? Okay. Mike Hammer, go.
Go. Okay. Let's see. I started going to Windsor the middle of the 73-74 term. I had been going to the Roosevelt School in Stamford, Connecticut since I was 11. And like many other schools, they ran into financial problems and there were issues. And so my parents moved me to Windsor. And I graduated in 75 with Nancy and Roberta. And there's actually some pictures I had taken at the graduation that are up on in the photos on the Facebook site. After Windsor, I was supposed to go to University of Chicago. When I got there for the obligatory interview, we were talking about relatives of mine that were on the faculty, and that really put me off. So at the last minute, I wanted to go somewhere else, got into NIU and went there, and graduated just after I had turned 18. I graduated from Windsor just after I turned 16. Started grad school, kind of went through I don't want to call it a crisis, but a self-review. And I had started grad school there in statistics and decided I was going to canoe down the Mississippi River. In the meantime, there had been this set up in the student center from the Navy. They called them tests. I called them games, did really well. But when I had gone to Great Lakes to interview, they wanted me for Naval Air Intelligence. I admitted that I had smoked pot. Oh my God. And I had inhaled. And it was really strange. There were these three officers, perfect uniforms, manila folders on the table in front of each of them, perfectly aligned, their caps perfectly aligned. And one of them said to me, we want you to sign an affidavit that you'll never do drugs of any sort for the rest of your life. And I thought about it, and my game plan was 20 and out, I'd be retired with full benefits at 38. But I thought about it and I said, well, it seems kind of extreme. I made him a counter offer that I'd sign an affidavit that I'd never do drugs as long as I was in the military, which I thought was eminently reasonable. And the look in their eyes was like, who the fuck are you, punk kid, trying to negotiate with us, the United States Navy? So anyways, I was canoeing down the Mississippi with a friend of mine, and I called my parents just to let them know I was alive, because back then we didn't have cell phones, of course. And my mother said, oh, perfect timing. The Navy called and they sent a certified letter. You're supposed to report to Pensacola for OCS. And I was like, huh. And I spoke with my friend Dan, and he actually continued canoeing down to New Orleans. I took a bus back to Chicago. I had a voucher for a flight to go to Pensacola. And it wasn't until I got there that that somebody told me the difference between being a line officer and not being a line officer, which you can't change your MOS, your military occupational specialty, if you're not a line officer. And this was under Carter. The military was shrinking big time. And someone said to me, well, you know, you'll do your 7-year commitment and then they'll kick you out, even if you're doing a perfect job, because move up or move out, too much time in grade. And I was like, wait, it doesn't fit my plans. And so I went to the drill instructor and I said, permission to speak with the gunny. And for any of you who have been in the military, you'll understand this. For those who haven't, you have to go through the procedures, right? And so, why do you want to speak with the gunnery sergeant? Personal reasons. Okay, you go to the office, you knock, request permission to enter. It's nothing like Officer and a Gentleman, if you've ever seen that movie. And I'm standing there at ease. I didn't realize the drill instructor would follow me in. And permission to speak freely. I'm asking questions. The gunnery sergeant did not explicitly say, yeah, you'll be kicked out, but he indicated in so many words that with the military shrinking and too much time in grade, blah, 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 request permission to drop on request. He looks at me for what seemed like forever, gave a nod past me at the drill instructor, who all of a sudden was screaming in my ear, like spit flying in my ear. We're not good enough for you, da 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 da. I got put in a 200-person barracks by myself with my very own drill instructor. The drill instructors spent their time screaming in my ear until I was processed out, making me run everywhere, eat my meals, square meals standing up, just all kinds of harassment. Anyways, got back to Chicago, didn't know what I was going to do. I ended up becoming a crew member on a fairly large sailing yacht, even though I had zero experience.
Hey, Mike, you're kind of going on.
Okay.
And we got a few more people. And
Okay,
I love,
anyways.
and I love you. We've talked many times.
Hal Rubin.
And you have great stories. You have great stories.
Hal
We'll
Rubin
continue.
sends his regards.
Okay, good.
Because his wife is in the hospital.
Okay.
But he did send his regards.
All right. Good to hear from you. Nancy, I know we've let you wait a long time. Can you?
Well, it's getting late, so I'll
yeah,
be
it's getting late.
I'll be succinct as much as I can. Windsor Mountain certainly changed my life. I was a scholarship kid from the suburbs of New York who had flunked out, actually had chosen to become a waitress at 15 and a half full time without telling my mother or the school. And I sort of that got caught up and there was a program with my school, thank goodness, that had a relationship with Windsor Mountain. There was state funding for bright kids who for various family personal reasons were not doing well. So I went to Windsor Mountain in 72 at a very, very, very difficult, dark, low point in my life. And to make a long story short, the love of the teachers, including Maurice, was nothing I'd ever experienced. The encouragement. I had the privilege of helping to care for Gertrude in my last year there. I had a job with her. I delayed my starting college for a year and did a gap year and was asked to come out to live with her at the Roper's house, her daughter and son-in-law in Michigan. So I am the repository of the information of Gertrude in her last year, which was quite an honor and a privilege. Gertrude had said to me during my senior year, when I complained of being bored in school, that I should become a doctor because I would never be bored. That was her. If you don't want to be bored, become a doctor. I had no intention, thoughts ever, didn't really even adore science, but long story short, if I had been told by Gertrude at that point to become a bricklayer, I would now be a bricklayer. So yes, before she died, she knew I was on my way to medical school at her behest, and I'm still practicing part-time. But Windsor Mountain, forever and ever, is so close to my heart. I met so many wonderful people there. I was so inspired by my teachers, both in terms of the rigor they expected of me and, the pull out of your emotional bullshit kid and get to work stuff, the tough love, Maurice breaking up a knife fight in my dorm room in the East dorm, I'll never forget, sort of a little terrifying from this girl from Chicago. But I have, incorporated into my career in my life, really, a lot of the values that I learned there. And, I've always taught students. I have an adopted child, a very happy life. And I just am so grateful. I'll always be grateful to Gertrude, especially, Heinz, Maurice, the teachers, my peers. I'm going in 2 weeks to see Patty Harris, which Mike and Roberta probably know. Patty was a classmate of mine. She's my longest residing friend from Windsor Mountain. It's really nice to have a friend that you've been friends with continually from high school. So that's, I just, I'm just really blessed, as I think we all were in one way or another. And I just really I'm so happy I was able to appreciate it then and appreciate it more and more as the years go by. And I love going to the reunions, and mostly I go so I can cry and tell Maurice how awesome he was to me then. And I try to pay that back every single day with students, with friends, with neighbors, with, I try to be the best person I can on behalf of helping others.
By
So
the
thank
way,
you, everybody.
just a little heads up, on the website, more of Nancy's story, especially the last years with Gertrude, is there. I encourage everybody to read it. Thank you, Nancy, for doing that. All right, let's move on to Roy Dreyer. I've been trying to get you on, but can you hear me, and can you unmute? Nope. All right. Anybody I'm missing, because we're getting toward 9 o'clock, and I was thinking we kind of get to the end there. Anybody else that I've missed or has some closing thoughts? Otherwise, Maurice will lead us in the school song. No? All right. Yeah. All right. Just because we're down to like 21 and we dropped from quite a few. So any final thoughts? I know I've been trying to get the caller to come on. That's hasn't been able to connect either.
I'd like to just say something really briefly, Chris, about Gertrude and the end of her
Sure.
last year.
Yeah.
The circumstances, because I don't think I wrote this very well in the article. She was quite heartbroken that the school was closed, and there was no secret that some people, it might have been easier on her and the family if she had died before the school really fell apart. She was not privy to a lot of the details at the end, but we had such wonderful conversations, and she, at the end, as she was putting her life together in her last year, when I was with her in Michigan, she would acknowledge how much, how grateful she was that she and Max were able to teach and mentor and foster so many students. She did not dwell on the sadness. She was very sad about it closing, of course, but she was able to come up with, wonderful stories about some of the students, and the teachers. And, she had really, really, really great memories. And I think a lot of pride in her life and her career, and Max's. So I just wanted to make people aware of that. It was not a tragic end of life for her, although she certainly was sad that her beloved school had closed. But in things like this, we live on. It does live on. And she would say to me, "It will live on in you, and this person, and this person." And that really has come true.
That's a great way to end all this. Unless, again, I think we've covered it. It's been a wonderful couple of hours, I got to say. Again,
Hello?
apologize for
Hi
kind
there.
of the rough start, but let's hope for the reunion in Lenox this coming fall. I'm talking with Betsy about it. Again, anybody who knows any of the Boston University people, to just let them know that it's an important event for us. And you can reach out to me or Betsy for that. Yes, Maurice, go ahead.
But we ought to at least hear Roy's voice now that he has appeared.
Oh, okay.
Just
Roy?
Hello.
Oh,
Hi
there you are.
Sorry about that. I disappeared for a bit.
Oh, okay.
Here I am. Hi, everyone.
Hello,
Sorry.
Roy.
Hey.
Whoa, Roy.
Hey, Mitch, how you doing? Mitch and I go way back.
Yeah.
Raised
Yes.
too. Nice
Yes,
to see you.
Way back.
Way back.
Well, I was a classmate of yours too, so.
That's right.
That's true.
Yeah, How you doing,
I'm
Roy?
doing all right. I recently just got Bell's palsy, so I'm talking kind of sideways here. And hope everybody can understand. I'll speak slowly. I'm slurring my words a bit.
No, we
But,
understand you. Go ahead.
You understand, okay.
Yep.
Windsor was a great place to be. It's still exists, I guess, in all of our minds and memories, very much so. It taught us so much. It really taught me how to be, I guess, an adult early in life. Living on our own there at school, or as much as I thought it was our own. The independence was really something. I heard from Peter Blitzer earlier. I too grew up in Palm Beach, Florida. It was an isolated island of I don't know what you want to call it. I see Lisa Hart. There you go. So anyway, hey Lisa, this is really cool, and I hope we keep this up. Windsor, ever since, I don't know what to say other than I don't want to give a whole bio. I think that many years have gone by. There's been struggles, there's been great times, there's been a lot of happy times, there's been a lot of sad times, but the diversity that Windsor has taught many of us is very important. And I think that, I don't know what else to say really. I'm sort of scatterbrained.
That's great.
So I love
It's
you
so,
all.
it's
you
so
all.
good to see you, Roy. It really is.
I hope I make it to one of the reunions one of these days. I'm living in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Been
All
here
right.
for 40 years, been married 40 years. Came here for a summer job way back when and never left, it seems.
The Cape is a great place.
Yeah, great place to be.
Okay.
Thank
All
you
right.
for hosting such a great event.
Well, seeing everyone. And
All right. We'll see you.
Forward to the next time.
Yeah. I think we're making it annual, but if anybody wants to do it in between, I'm happy to screw up again. And no, I'm just kidding. No, I tried as hard as I could, and I hope it was a good experience. Thank you for all.
Chris, thank you for your efforts.
All right, great. We'll talk. We'll see you later. Have a good holiday, everybody. See
Happy
you.
holidays to everyone.
Yes.
Happy holidays all.
Happy holidays.
Be well.
Holidays.
Yeah,
Love
be
you
healthy.
all madly.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Health and prosperity.
Okay. See you later. I'm gonna end it.
Vigilance,
Yep.
vigilance, vigilance.
Many more.
Good to see you, Joy.
Thank you, Chris.
See you.
Wonderful.